Hello guys, so how are you doing? So I'm here to show you a quick tutorial as to how you can apply a texture onto a 3D looking steps or something like this. Like right now what we have, maybe the image is a flat image, but then unfortunately we have these steps that's going up here, which is going to be completely 3D. So we need to apply a texture onto this. So we cannot just go ahead and grab this and then drop onto this, and then we cannot just change the blending mode, because as it is, it might not look really so prominent, because even then the 3D look is not really becoming so attractive. So how to go ahead and apply um, a texture to a 3D looking image. So here we go, let's start with it and let's go on to it quickly. So basically you need to start off with filter, and you need to take a vanishing point. So this is how we are going to tell the computer that the image has to be applied in this way. Okay, so we're going to create a grid. Okay, now I have a grid applied onto this, so which means the Photoshop understands that I'm going to apply an image on top of this. But then I do have another elevation that has to be here, which means the image has to be applied onto this as well, because this also is a image that is attached to this grid. So I have to have a continuation for this image, and it also has to look like a 3D. So in order to continue that, you can just go ahead and click on create plane again, and then holding control you just have to drag this right on top. So once you're happy with this elevation here, you can also go ahead and start continuing for the other end by still clicking on to create plane, and then click on control, and you can just continue onto it. You can see the Photoshop automatically detects how it has to draw the grid. So all you have to do is each time you create a new plane, you click on to control and just start dragging, and then once you're happy with it, you can just hold on to it and then start continuing till you're completely okay. So once you have completed drawing your grid, now the Photoshop knows like how the image has to be applied. So let's see how it works. So I say okay. So now I don't see any grid here, and even if I apply an image on top of this, I don't know whether it's going to work. But let's see whether we have our grid right on top of these steps. So let's go back to filter and say vanishing point. Yes, I do have my filters here, and unfortunately I don't have a filter here right down at the bottom. So let's create one more here. So I can just click on Alt, and then I can just drag this down to the bottom. So now that I'm happy with it, so I have a perfectly applied grid. So I say okay, and you can double check. You can see that your grid is still available. Okay, so now what you got to do is you can bring in the image that you want. So I'm going to bring this image, as I told you already. I have been using this for blending option in my previous tutorial. I'm bringing this here, and once I apply it here right on top of this, I will not see any changes because I don't see the grid here. Actually, this image has to be applied onto the grid, not onto this image. So how am I going to do that? This is how we got to do. So make a copy of this. So before you make a copy of this, make a selection of this. How do you select this? Hold control and click right on top of this thumbnail once you get a pop-up, and then you can see there's a nice selection box that is showing it is selected, and now you can click on Ctrl C, which means it is copied. Now we don't have to use this anymore. You can just click on Ctrl D in order to get the deselection. And now what are we going to do? Now let's go back into our filter, and before we go into filter, we have to apply this new image onto a new layer. So how are we going to do that? Create a new layer and make sure it's right on top of this 3D steps layer. Okay, and now we are going to go directly into our filter vanishing point. So let's see what we have here. So right now I have my image, and I also have the grids that I created using create plane tool. and they're all perfectly set. But where is my image that I have to apply here? It is already copied, but I don't know how to paste it. You can paste it by clicking Ctrl V. So once you have your selection here, alright, so you need to make sure that you have this marquee tool selected, and then you can slowly drag in and drop this right into your grid. So once you drop it, you can see it has been applied onto your steps. But then you need to make sure that these steps and your image are really fitting well. So you can also click on Ctrl T and you can start scaling based on your image. So it depends on what image you have selected. So maybe I'm happy with this, I don't want anything more. So right now maybe I'm happy with this, so I just say okay. So once I have this selected and now I have applied this onto my steps, still I feel it has a 3D look, but it's not that natural. So how am I going to make it more natural? All I have to do is use some blending mode. So the best blending mode that I know as for this example is multiply. So once I click on multiply, you can see that this has a little more additional 3D looking effect onto this. Alright, and the others you can also, if I zoom in, you can see that it has gone away from the selection. Actually has to be more neat and nice. So you can check that on my other tutorials, how you can erase all these areas and make it more natural. So right now we'll focus only on this area as to make sure that this is looking more natural. So what more you can do is you can also make these dark and light areas more matching when it comes to the natural background. So you just have to double click onto this and you can see you have popped up a layer style. Under layer style you have underlaying layer. Here if you increase the brightness, you can see the background, the underneath layer that is affecting here. So you need to make sure that the white areas are becoming more effective, whereas the black area should be also effective, but we cannot do together here because this is going to affect only one layer. So what we can do it to make it more natural is we can turn off the blending mode and make it normal. Okay, and then we can go back again and double click onto this, and now you can start to increase the white area. And if you want to reduce this amount, because this is really heavy onto this image, you can just click onto Alt and give a click onto this, and you can see that this cursor or the slide is divided into two, which means now you can just spread it up together, and this will help you to bring out whatever the white or the brightness that is there on the background, and it will look more natural. Okay, and then you can also bring the dark areas that is there on this. So I can also click on this layer and duplicate it, and this time I'm going to bring all the brightness, the bright areas or the dark areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it another screening method here, and this time I'm going to go ahead and double click onto this. Okay, but I don't want the brightness here, I want the dark areas. So if I increase the darkness, you can see it is bringing out all the darkness from the image that is underneath, but I don't want everything. So I'm just trying to click on Alt and click onto this slider, and it does another sliding, so which makes it more easy to blend. So I can just blend this so the image looks much more neat and clear. So maybe I'm happy with this, and then I can say okay, and I can go ahead and change this back to multiply, and then it looks more natural. And this is screening, and I can just select these two together and I can group them. Ctrl G. Okay, just want to group them. Okay, now that I have them in a group, I can also go ahead, I can just reduce the opacity a bit so it looks more natural. And now if you want to see how it was before, you can also see, you can take the image here and you can bring it down, and you can just go ahead and scale it down back it to how it was before and how it is now. So if you want to, like apply a texture and make it look more natural on a 3D, you can always go ahead and use this option called vanishing point, and you can start applying your effects. And if you want to know how to delete all these areas and polish this work, you can always check into my other tutorial. But this tutorial is just to make sure that you understand how vanishing point tool works and how you can apply an image onto a 3D looking landscape. Right, thank you guys.